Hi, everybody. I'm Tanya Marie Dubé, and you are watching The Empowered Woman. I'm so happy to have you here today. Today's guest is a friend of mine, AdeleTheron from NakedDivorce.com. She is a powerhouse of a woman empowering men and women all over the world to step into their best selves and live the life they truly want to live. She is an author. She's a trauma and change management specialist. She's also the founder of Naked Divorce, which is an award-winning 21-day global divorce recovery program, which has helped thousands of people get over divorce in just 21 days. She also runs Divorce Strategy Mastery to help people master the art of divorce negotiation to achieve the best results. So welcome. How are you today, Adele? I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah, I'm good. It's good to be back on your show. And yeah, what a great topic. I love the topic for today. So looking forward to chatting a bit about that and sharing stuff with your wonderful listeners and watchers.
Thank you. Okay, so as usual, everybody, Adele's got an amazing gift that she's going to share with you at the end, but she also wants to tell you how it's going to benefit you. So please stick around to the end to find out about that. So Adele, let's talk about you. Let's talk about what you do and who you serve.
Yeah, so basically, my kind of core focus is I help men and women, particularly very busy men and women, professionals who don't have time to have breakdowns and issues and traumas, to in particular get over divorce in 21 days. We also have a kind of elite retreat version where they can get over divorce in 7 days for those that just think 21 is too much. But that's our kind of core thing. And then I also help men and women save marriages, you know, because we've been working with thousands of people in the kind of, you know, stopping, you know, like actually dealing with the actual divorce trauma. And you just learn so much about the key areas where marriages can really fall down. And we developed this kind of concept of a marriage threshold. And if you cross over that threshold, your relationship is basically stuffed. So what we do is we really just, we do this kind of assessment where people could track where they are in their relationship. And then we teach them to put in all the components and elements to make sure that their relationship doesn't cross the threshold. So yeah, it's such an amazing area to work in. And, you know, I work with other traumas as well, but I think for me, relationships, everything in life is about relationships, our relationships to relationships, who we are in relationship, everything about that. And empowering people in that space is really just an awesome calling.
Oh, I bet, because you're helping people get back to who they are, right?
Yeah.
We can get lost. I think especially, I love that you have this program that helps people rekindle their romance or their relationship before heading down the road to divorce. But, you know, going through a divorce, it can just rip you to shreds, right? So this
Absolutely.
is really cool. 21 days to recovery is amazing. 7-day retreat sounds pretty good too.
Yeah, it's actually with the 7-day, I think with anything, if you do it kind of over a longer period of time, you can kind of lose a little bit of momentum. So with the 21-day where we assist people, we really have to be quite kind of focused to get them, you know, it's amazing results, but it's still, even 21 days, it sounds so short, but it, you know, it's intensive, right? And you've got to kind of work on it every day. And the 7-day, because we just work in one-on-one with the people and, you know, in the group retreat environment, man, it's just explosion. And I'd actually say it's not even getting back to your, like, who you remember yourself as before the relationship. It's actually getting, people are like inventing themselves as almost like the best version of themselves. Because it's like, you know, who you are, like you've progressed, you've grown, you've learned. Now you, with all those learnings behind you, you're an even better version.
You know what's really funny that you just said that? Absolutely, because when I was going through my divorce, as you know, I had this strange thing happen to me where I thought, you know what, I'm kind of wanting to latch on to who I used to be before, but this was 20 years ago. And you're right, all of my experiences and everything who make me who I am now, I needed to get to a higher version of myself. So I said, get back to who you were before. I think I mean before the trauma.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're not suffering and in pain and like, you know, in a whole thing. It's actually, you know, just back, you got your mojo back, basically.
Yeah, that's it. You got your mojo back. So now let me ask you this. How did you get into this work?
Well, surprise, surprise, I went through a divorce. So in essence, I was working in the corporate world in change management. So I've always, my whole life, I've been working with, you know, either individuals or companies to move through really big changes, mergers, acquisitions, large-scale redundancy programs, massive software projects, and just the kind of people side of all of that. And everything, you know, in working in corporate, you really learn corporate has no patience for, you know, time healing anything. It's like, okay, well, that's got to be done in 4 days. And so I got really good at producing results really quickly. And then when I went through my kind of shock divorce, yeah, I was like so many people that I meet, like living this beautiful facade with my prince and everything was perfect. We were projecting so much perfection to the rest of the world. Where inside I was really crying out and really lonely and unhappy in my marriage. And I couldn't tell anybody that. And so many people feel that in their marriages today. It's just like, you know, you just go home and you're drinking a bottle of wine in the dark and just thinking, is this life? This is just so depressing. And you can't tell anybody because it's just, you're supposed to be perfect and, you know, everything's supposed to be great. And that really wasn't my life at all. And when it all came crashing down and I went to go and see therapists, as you do, and then they have this like weird formula where they're like, well, you know, for every year that you were married, you need 6 months to recover. And I'm like, what? No, man, I'm like from corporate. That shit doesn't apply. So I got really impatient and really irritated. And like the journey was so like opaque and nobody could tell me where we were going and there was no goal and everyone was just discussing feelings. And then I went to this like group thing and I was just like this, you know, I'm not knocking therapy. It works for many people, but I had zero patience for the process. I was just like, can't do this. So I basically sat on my floor in my kitchen and just wrote. Well, first I trashed my kitchen because that's really important. You must, you know, break stuff. And that's, you know, if you've gone through something traumatic, it's important to break things. I think it's all part of the unwritten rule. And then, you know, with all the chaos and the glass and the stuff everywhere, I started writing this process. And it kind of, in a way, those like 5 or 6 days that I wrote that process, I did not stop writing. And they got to a point, it was a weird moment, like on the 3rd or 4th day where it was almost as if I wasn't even writing anymore. Like it was just like flowing through me. And in that moment, a massively sacred exchange happened where I really felt like I've been given this gift of this secret, this answer of how to help people navigate one of the worst traumas you can ever go through. So isolating, so, you know, humiliating, embarrassing, you know, labeling. And I know how to get through it quickly. And I feel entrusted with this thing. And it's become a calling, you know, and I think I found that experience very empowering because it was just like, okay, you know, it's like in Mission Impossible where they're like, your mission if you choose to accept it. And it was just my mission now is this. And this is, that just became everything.
That's absolutely amazing. You went into more detail today. I learned some things about you that I didn't know. Yes, I do agree with the breaking. Breaking of things must happen.
Particularly like, you know, important trinkets and love tokens and stuff. Yeah, just break all of it.
Just trash them.
I think the thing about the healing journey, you know, and particularly people, you know, those of us who are in the personal development kind of world, there's a temptation to be too evolved during the journey. Like we forgive too quickly. We're too quick with the whole healing thing. And it's just full of BS because you don't really own it then. You actually have to go through a process to really get to that place where you're like, you know what, I'm really okay with this now. And I think in breaking stuff and kind of behaving a little bit like badly, as long as you don't hurt anyone or look like a total bunny boiler or shave your head like Britney,
or
like
hurt yourself.
you actually, you know, you don't want to be too involved during that journey because then you're not going to honestly own the outcome.
Right.
You're going to have declared that you're fine and you've forgiven everyone, And then like 6 weeks later, you're going to start feeling really angry. And now you can't tell anyone because everyone thinks you're over it. Well, that wasn't a good plan, was it?
That's amazing. I love how you were saying that you just listen to your intuition. And I love that you're just creatively writing and getting all of the stuff in your head out on paper. And then you recognized your calling. I mean, how awesome is that? Through this entire show so far and the experts that have come on, one of the resounding lessons is to really listen to your intuition and to take what's going on in your life as a gift, if you can, and try to see it for something, you know, that you can help others with, or you can build something off of, right? I just think that's fantastic. I love that you said that it was just flowing through you and you're just writing it out, and this was going to be your calling. I think that's fantastic. I wanted to ask you now, what does women's empowerment mean to you? Because I know that you empower both men and women in this space, but as a woman, what does this mean to you?
Well, it's not just, I like that you said men and women, because for me, I think empowerment, it cannot just be about the empowerment of a single sex, right? It's you're either empowered or you're disempowered. It's kind of binary. And a loss of power or a disempowerment is really when you just feel like the wind's being let out of you. It's like a balloon that's just being slowly depleted. Mm-hmm. And you know you've kind of lost that power when you're around people and you just feel a bit, you know, and you can't speak up and you can't really say anything. And I think for me, empowerment is working on yourself and getting yourself to a level where you're so clear about what you're here to do, what your intention is, who you are, what you will and will not put up with. It's like what I call the honor code. Having a really clear honor code, and it's like, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is my mission, this is my plan, this is what you can and cannot do with me, these are my boundaries. You get to this place where you are just like unmessable with. Yeah. You just can't mess with this. This is like, you know, if you're going to try and mess with this, like, move along. Here's 50 cents, move away. But it's kind of, that is really empowerment for me is a function of the extent to which we can implement our honor code in life.
I love that. That's fantastic. And that is absolutely what happens too. It is. When you have this very stoic confidence about yourself, you really are unshakable. You just really are. Nobody can really shake you up because you see things from a different perspective, right? You're not looking, well, I find that, you know, throughout our lives, you've probably experienced this too. We go through feelings of victimization. And once you realize that, you know, being victimized and actually being a victim are two completely different things, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Now I wanted to talk about your award-winning 21-day program in a little bit more. Is there anything more that you wanted to say about it? Because I wanted to give you a chance to talk about it, how people can find it. I know it's nakeddivorce.com is your website. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about with that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the Naked Divorce, we've been in business for about 7 years. We've had thousands of people participate in the program, which is just such a blessing. And it's an incredible... It's a really empowering journey. I think one of the things all our participants say is that they come out just really, really empowered, solid about who they are as people. And, you know, they install that kind of unmessable thing. And, you know, all the coaches and, you know, angels that work with us that, you know, facilitate that journey and work, we take our own transformation and we hold ourselves really, really accountable because we facilitate that journey. It's a really sacred agreement that we have with our clients. So, you know, as the kind of founder or the leader of this, like, my job is to really hold myself to a really high standard to kind of make that happen. And we take that integrity and that kind of, you know, that honesty and that ruthless compassion, those foundations really, really seriously, because we have the courage to kind of tell you exactly what you need to hear. Maybe not what you want to hear, but exactly what you need to hear to actually move on. And there's kind of 3 stages of the program. We have Cocoon, where you kind of really stabilize and get yourself kind of grounded. the middle, we've got the whole transformation, metamorphosis phase. And in the end, it's all about release, which is rebuilding and reconnecting yourself back to yourself and really installing that honor code. So it's a really structured format, really goal orientated. You know exactly where you are in the journey. It's not like a mystery, which is what tends to happen in a lot of therapy. And as long as you stick with the journey, you'll finish at some point. Whereas that kind of endless bathing yourself in the same dirty bathwater thing, it doesn't work for a lot of people.
This is what I love about coaching this is why I didn't pursue a master's degree in my background, which is social psychology, because I don't like the idea of therapy pulling us backwards constantly. I went to therapy forever, and all I felt when I left was awful. I love coaching for me because coaching moves us forward, right? Everything is about moving forward, stepping into your higher self, which I think is, I love what you do. I think it's fantastic, helping people just get over all of the crap and just move forward into their higher selves. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Me
now,
too.
I wanted to ask you if you have some tips around mindset and achieving your goals, no matter how big or small. There are people watching, women watching this entire show for this particular segment who come from all walks of life. They want to start a business. They're high earners, high income earners. There's many, many, many. So what tips would you have is there one or two things you can say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're kind of wanting to start something, brand new, you were talking about some of the people that were watching the show that, have never really gone into their own business, or they have a calling and they want to kind of start something. You need a hell of a lot of resilience and dedication to actually get something off the ground. You've got to kind of imagine it's almost like a ship that's ground to a halt. To get a ship moving, it needs an incredible amount of energy. So what tends to happen is you plant the seeds in the ground, and it's kind of like under the ground, and you're looking at the ground going, it's not, nothing's happening, and you're watering it and whatever, and then you're like, ugh. And if you're getting patient and you don't remain in that flow of like actually you're watering this and making it happen, you will give up. And as you walk away, the root, it's starting to pop through the ground, and you've like lost it because you gave up. So I think people give up too quickly. You need to find a way to stay in the game, because whatever number you think, if you're like, okay, we're going to start a business and in, 4 months we're going to be rocking it. Yeah, whatever number you've got, quadruple it. Because that's what real business is all about. And I think it's that mindset of just like, whatever it takes, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to keep going and just find a way to just keep going. That resilience and dedication is absolutely vital, not only to empowerment, but like to achieve anything.
Yeah, right. And I wanted to ask you too, I'm thinking about you sitting on your floor writing this entire program. How did you get over your self-limiting beliefs and your fears? Did you have any fears about doing this?
Oh, there were so many. I mean, it's like, at the time I was like in, corporate, working for really, really big multinationals like Philips and General Motors and that kind of stuff. And it was just, who am I? Who am I to be telling people how to do this? It was just, that kind of voice in my head of like what my auntie would say, or it's always like the
who do you think you are
from school, and like, who do you think you are? And it's like, and I very much grew up in a culture from South Africa where it's like, the tall poppy syndrome, you don't rise above what you're supposed to do. You stay in your corner. Like, about this, you stay there. And so a lot of that was just terror. And I mean, the Naked Divorce, if you see my book cover and all that stuff, I'm like naked on the cover, right? So I mean, my dad coming to my book launch at Waterstones in Piccadilly in London, giant poster of me absolutely stark naked up there. He was just like, so that, a lot of fear, massive amount of fear. It was a lot of embarrassment. But it just, because I felt this thing had been entrusted with me, it was like, well, it doesn't matter if you're going to get humiliated, embarrassed, and all these, you need to do it. You just got to do it, because
you acted fast. You acted fast, and that's another key component to starting something is act fast. Don't let
act fast, and it's like you're going to hear the voices. Sometimes you're going to feel embarrassed in the moment, but it's like when you're entrusted with something, you need to keep moving. You need to keep going, because when you keep moving and going, like after a while, you take some action, then you start getting some traction. And when that traction starts to happen, you start attracting like things to you, but you've got to actually go through all that discomfort in the beginning.
Yeah.
And nobody ever talks about that. You know, when people talk about like starting things, they're like, oh, you know, I started my business and overnight. No, there is no overnight success. You know, do you think of Lady Gaga or any of these amazing people that have created things, their overnight success take like, you know, decades to create. Like it's big.
Yeah. That's not to say that they weren't successful, but to come into the spotlight, there's a lot behind it. It's like an iceberg. We just see the tip of it, and everything underneath that is all the work, right? All the years of dedication. Now, I have one last question to you about your business, for you about your business. I wanted to know, when it comes to empowering your clients, what is the number one thing that they struggle with?
I'd say responsibility, big time. I think particularly with something like divorce is a very complex trauma, because in some ways, true bereavement is easier. It's awful to say that. Oh, how can bereavement be easier? The person's actually died. Isn't that worse? Sometimes the death of a relationship can be worse than a bereavement, because the support networks around bereavement are so integrated and compassionate and empathetic. Whereas divorce, it's a bit like catching a disease, and you don't want to be associated with it. And it's like you're wearing the scarlet letter and you need to move on fast and stop talking about it. And it's a weird thing to go through. And people don't like to congregate with it. They don't like to be together and talk about it. It's like a taboo subject. Mm-hmm. And the other part of divorce is you don't want to be associated with the failure. You want to move that failure away from you. There is a natural reaction for people to like repel that feeling of failure. And how they do that is they blame. They want to assign blame outside of themselves, because if they're associated with that failure, it's very confronting, and it's very overwhelming for a human being to experience that. So responsibility, really our ability to respond powerfully, means that we actually have to get that, like, we have something to do with the situation that we're in. Like, we chose that, we stepped over all that stuff, you know, we made that happen, we unconsciously created that, we totally ignored that all that happened, and then this happened, and, you know, it's like, wow, I might have something to do with this. And that actually means you actually have to sit with the failure, confront it, but without self-loathing kicking in. Because half the reason people struggle to take responsibility is when they take responsibility, they then turn that blame element into themselves, and then they get into a cycle of self-loathing, and that is really destructive. Yeah. So you've got to learn to take responsibility, in other words, that ability to respond powerfully without turning inwards into a negative cycle of self-loathing. And this is quite a complex distinction to really teach people. But when they get it, it's very empowering. It kind of transforms not only how they feel about their divorce, but generally about life.
I was just going to say, everything that you've just described, honestly, you could be talking about building a business. You could be talking about getting through any type of adversity, really. I think that's powerful advice for a lot of different areas of life.
Yeah, but you know, I really believe that when you take on the transformation of something disempowering in your life, it doesn't actually matter what it is. Those results will spill out into all areas of life. Yes. You know, if you, like when you have a diet and you lose lots of weight, or you have a new gym program and you transform your body, and like it changes your mindset. Mm-hmm. So if you kind of take on the transformation of divorce or a trauma that you've been through, and you really transform your ability to respond powerfully to those situations and not sink into that space of either self-loathing or blame of others, and you actually like, yeah, I had something to do with that. Yeah, and you know what helps most is humor. Yeah, humor. People just take stuff so seriously. They're like, it's just heavy, that heavy significance that we have. And when you actually just like, yeah, I did that. I totally did that. I stepped over all of that. I did. Yep, that was me. That was me. It's kind of like, okay, you can deal with it.
You're looking at
like, oh, it was me. Oh, I'm such a terrible person. Oh, it's such a drama. And it's like, then it's a bit heavy. It's difficult to move on from that.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. It's a perspective shift, isn't it? I think so. Now I wanted to get into, I have 8 questions that I ask every expert who comes on here. And so I'd like to get into those with you. You can just give me 1-word answers. We can talk a little bit about it. Anything you want to say, I love. So the first question is, what inspires you?
I love helping people like get through bad stuff in life and getting empowered.
I love that.
Love it.
That's fantastic. How, in your opinion, how do we live an awakened life?
Yeah, so for me, I have quite a different perspective on awakening. Like, so awakening for me it's about being real and in reality. And kind of, it's quite direct and challenging because it's about accepting a life where you're not going to get wrapped in cotton wool. Being awakened and living an awakened life is actually about accepting reality and charging into reality. You don't want people to wrap you in cotton wool. You don't want fakeness. You don't want to live through facades where you're projecting some, nonsense about your life just to look good. You're not caught up in that matrix. You actually like checked out of that and you just like, I want to be real and, I'm going to take control and, take responsibility and just some of those principles. It's about being real. I think you cannot be awakened if you want to be fake. You got to be real.
That's awesome. I love that. What can we learn when we fall down?
I think the biggest concept, for me, falling down, we all fall down. Falling down is like part of life. That's it. But falling down is not the problem. It's staying down. So if you get into a space where you fall down and you just pick yourself up and keep going, that's awesome. That's called resilience. When you just like dust off and okay.
And now how do you find the spirit then to get back up?
I think a lot of it is, it's not about trying to feel ready, because I think what a lot of people wait for is like, I'll get back up when I feel ready. No, you're never going to feel ready. So if you rely on your emotions, our emotions like change all the time. Our emotions are not, you should not rely on your emotions as a barometer to take action. Emotions come and go. They are sensations combined with, visceral sensations combined with some thoughts in our head. It doesn't actually compel us to move. So if you want to get going when you've fallen down, what makes that happen is your commitment. So you've got to get committed to stuff and kind of go, okay, I'm committed to moving forward in this. I'm not, committed to staying in this heap and feeling sorry for myself. So even if though I don't feel it, I'm going to keep going. And then by taking that initial action, and then you start building that traction, and then you will start having some, good results coming back to you. But sometimes those first few actions have to be done while feeling really in that pit of despair.
Yeah. I love that answer. That's
nothing to do with emotion whatsoever.
Yeah, perfect. Now I wanted to ask you, what is the most difficult decision you've had to make to pursue your destiny? Besides the naked cover, but.
I think it was really choosing to leave my ex-husband, choosing to leave somebody that I loved. And just kind of realizing that the context of that relationship was a relationship in which I loved and cared for someone else more than I loved and cared for myself. It was a relationship that lacked honor code. I didn't have an honor code for myself. So there were some things that he did and I just stepped over all of it and I did that. I chose to do that and I didn't take responsibility for that. But I think in choosing to walk away from someone that I loved, in other words, I made the choice based on my commitment to myself as opposed to my feelings for him. So leaving had nothing to do with how I felt. It had everything to do with choosing like a new path and choosing that commitment to myself, then defining the new honor code and understanding that code is a function of real self-love,
Yeah.
I think that defined me. And that is, it was a difficult decision, but like, boom.
Everything changed after that.
Everything.
Wow.
And for him too, like, you know, we both lead so much better lives. And it's kind of like part of who we are today is because we went through all that experience and relationship and stuff together.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. What, in your opinion, is the purpose of the human experience?
So for me, you know, we're all, as human beings, we're here to experience the fulfillment of human needs. Mm-hmm. So like feeling certain about things, feeling adventurous and having variety, or like feeling significant and important, or feeling love and connection. You know, those feelings are really important and stuff. But for me, the real kind of purpose of the human experience is transcend those basic levels of human need and to get to the level where we're focused on growth and contribution to others.
Yes. Yes.
So for me, the human experience is like when you can get to a place where it's no longer about you, it's actually about other people. You know, like I'll tell you something personal. Like my grandmother, who I absolutely love and adore, she died yesterday. She passed away.
Oh no, Adele. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but what I want to share about that is I had a full day of coaching people, and today I had a full day with clients and doing stuff. It didn't matter how my emotional state was. My job was to put myself out the way and be fully there for the people that I'm there for. And that's, for me, the most profound way to not only honor her, but to honor this human experience that we have.
Wow.
You know, is to be able to, and that's really the lesson in all of it, is when you can transcend all those human needs and really get that, like, we're here to contribute and make a difference to others.
And to show up. Wow. I'm sorry that happened and that you went through that.
Yeah. But you know what's been beautiful is kind of feeling sad and just keep going. Yeah. And just learning that actually it's never about acting on how you feel or waiting till you feel a particular way. You just keep going.
You just keep going. I absolutely love that. And you're a master at it. You know exactly how to do it.
Well, hang on, but sometimes you need what I call cave day. It's really important to not always like rock the super evolved thing. Like sometimes I'm like, that's it, I'm on strike and I'm, you know, must be in a dark room with back-to-back Grey's Anatomy and lots of ice cream, and I'll growl at anyone who disturbs me. So it's not about being perfect either. Like you need your days of like, you know, checking out. That is also key.
That's a really good point. Yeah, for sure. Mine is like red wine and watching, you know, The Holiday.
Absolutely. Watch The Holiday like 20 times.
I know. I love that movie. Okay, my next question for you is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Compassion. Compassion for yourself, compassion for others. You know, sometimes when people behave really badly towards you, in my experience, 90% of the time, it has very little to do with you. It's usually something going on over there with them and they're projecting it outwards. And the more you can work on having compassion for yourself and compassion for others, you expand as a person to be able to kind of just listen, get people, like they might be ranting and raging and say all sorts of stuff, and it's like, what's really going on there? Yeah. Like you can listen through stuff.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd known that when I was younger. I used to, you know, things would hurt me very deeply, or I would beat myself up all the time and just waste many years doing, you know, just like hating myself for something. And, you know, and it's just, you can be so much more resilient when you have compassion for yourself and for others. And I think it's a real cornerstone of all of our programs, is training the mind in self-compassion and actually learn. It's a skill and you can develop it and learn it. And I think And I sort of mapped out exactly how to do that, because it was something that I was like, damn, I wish I'd known this when I was younger.
Yes, and I think that answer could probably be part of the answer to my next question, which is, in your mind, what is the purpose of forgiveness?
Yeah, I mean, for me, forgiveness, again, people kind of get concepts like intermingled, sort of get things muddled. They're like, oh, I can't forgive you because you haven't earned it, right? They make it like a transactional thing. It's like, I will forgive you when ... has occurred. So there's some sort of transaction that needs to occur. Forgiveness is not about condoning what has happened. I think that's what, you don't need a transaction, because we're not saying that what the person did is okay. We're not condoning that.
Yeah.
But it's about releasing yourself from the bond of that suffering, and kind of having some freedom from all of that. It's just like, okay, I don't condone what happened, but I get that it happened. Just like I can say, this is a pain. We have to accept that this is a pain. It is just a pain. We don't condone that it's a pain. It's just a pain. I release myself from the pain. It's like, it's a similar kind of concept with forgiveness, is because for me, when you don't forgive and you hold on for dear life, you're literally, I think as Buddha said, you are taking poison hoping someone else is going to die. Like, it only destroys yourself.
Yeah, you're just torturing yourself.
And it's just, it's such a negative emotion. But again, I don't think you should forgive too quickly. It has to be a process that you go through where you can get to that place where you're like, okay, I can get there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just cheap. It's it's a cheap thing that you just like, oh no, I totally forgive you. It's totally fine. It's fine, no problem. Then you're just being a martyr.
Yeah.
And it's you're not really forgiving from a true place. So yeah, we don't condone it. We just release ourselves from the suffering from it, so that you're free, but you also don't do it too quickly, because then it's fake and it's cheap.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for your candor and your honesty and your intimacy with these questions. I love all of your answers. They're beautiful. Now, I wanted to get to your free gift. Let's talk about your free gift and how this can benefit everybody.
Yeah. So on our website, we have, in Naked Recovery Online, we focus on, helping people through like bad traumas that they've been through. And Naked Divorce is very much helping people through divorce trauma. And Naked Recovery and Spark, we do marriage counseling and recovery from other traumas. And, an important thing is often when we're in a pickle and we don't know what to do, the best thing you can do is to take some action and get your situation reviewed by, an expert on our team, an angel from our team. So just for your kind of audience, we have a power hour, and usually people pay quite a lot of money for a power hour, but just for this summit, we will have that as, my gift with our compliments. So anybody that comes to the website and books a power hour, it will be for free, and you can get your situation completely assessed by an angel, and, build a kind of game plan of what are some of the kind of top things you can do in just straight out the gate. And,
the game plan is
advice. Get a plan.
Yeah. A plan is just like, a plan is everything. I think if you don't know what your next step is, you're kind of like stuck, like we were talking earlier. Yeah. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for this interview today. I love seeing you. I love talking to you. You're so much fun and funny. So thank you very much. I wanted to tell everybody that Adele and I would love to know what you thought about this interview. So please hit reply to this email and let us know what you thought, or how you can use some of these tips and strategies in your own life to improve your life, or whatever you've learned. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you again to everybody. Thanks again, Adele. Thanks everyone for watching. The Empowered Woman. This is the place to be to learn how to challenge your fears, to powerfully live the life you want, and become the highly influential woman that you were born to be. So thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Bye, Adele. Bye.